Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Plurk, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday the 18th of August 2014, and this is episode 92, A Trip to the Frog Pond. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. The big life thing is kindergarten, but I'm going to talk about that at the end because I feel like that is going to be a long explanation. That way anybody who's not really interested in the momminess doesn't have to sit through it and can just sit through the knitting. So speaking of knitting, Stuffy Knit Along is going on. There are 2 weeks left. So 2 weeks from yesterday for me will be the end of the knit along. When I record in 2 weeks, I will close that thread and draw for prize winners. And the prizes are some Amy Eyes and sorry, my dog is in my room, which I don't usually let happen when I'm recording because she's very distracting. Not on purpose. I'm just like a cat and I'm like, what movement? What's going on? Anyway, the other prize is the skein of Flamenco DK from Dancing Dog Dye Works in the colorway I Believe. There's a tag for that. It's BPH Stuffies, STUFFYS 14. And you guys, you are amazing. There's more than one page of projects. Whenever that happens, I get really excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, so many people are doing things. The projects could be works in progress before the beginning of July. They just have to be finished between July 1st and August 31st. So pull out your works in progress. There are some really excellent Angry Birds finished objects that were languishing forever. And that made my day. People pulling out things that have been sitting around forever. Let me talk about the next knit along while we're talking about that. So the next knit along in September, October will be a finish it or frog it. And the way that it's going to work is if you want to frog a project, it should have, a decent amount of work into it, probably like 50 yards, we'll say. 50 yards is enough to count for a frogging. I'm not going to come measure your stuff, but, not something that's like this big. We're not going to count that, just for fairness. The way it's going to work is take a picture of the item before it's frogged and take a picture of the ball of yarn after it's frogged. It can be a project that's completely finished. It can be something that's just hit the 50-yard mark that you just aren't liking. Whatever it is, frog it, picture of before and after, that's an entry. If you end up making something with that yarn, you can count that as an entry. If you are finishing up something that you started before the start of the knit along, take a picture of the work in progress, and as long as it's at least 50 yards, it will count as 2 entries. So post it twice in the finished objects thread. And if you start something new during the month, because some people are monogamous and only have one thing going at a time and don't have 10 things on the needles like I do, that will count as 1 entry. As long as it's 50 yards. We're going to keep it at 50 yards so that it's kind of fair in case someone decides they want to pick up a blanket and finish it in that time or something. Hopefully that made sense, but it will all be typed out in the forum thread, and I probably won't get that up this week, but I'll try to get up a chatter thread next week so that you have a whole week in which to ask questions. And the prize for that is going to use this Daisy Knits Wicked Cool color in the Hardy 2.0 base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And if we get a lot of entries, let's say if we break 51 entries, I will use the Java Jenny bag. So get excited for that. I did not finish anything this week because I went to the frog pond, but I did make a valiant effort at a lot of things. The Huckleberry Knits, the Superwash BFL, and Centurion I really wanted to finish, but I didn't. I didn't put in the time that I meant to. I wanted to spend 20 minutes, well, ply 20 minutes every day. And I think I did plying like 3, maybe 4 days. It would have been close if I had gotten in all of the days, but I would have just pushed through the last little bit on the 7th day because that's usually what I do. But I do only have these 2 balls left to ply from, which means I'm over halfway done. And this is what it is looking like. It's a lace weight. You can't tell there because that's not plied well enough. So really, really, next week, I'm hoping to have that finished. It's going to be amazing. But since it's a lace weight, it's taking time because it takes longer to ply lace than to ply fingering or worsted. There's just more yardage to deal with. Exciting for my cloud lover. So 2 of my things, both of my spinning projects are past the halfway point for the part that they're on. So that's exciting. So this is my cloud lover. Blackberry truffle colorway, 40% merino, 40% superwash, 20% silk. And I finished the first 2 ounces on my supported spindle. Yay! So that is amazing, and it is going to stay on the spindle. I will decide later if I'm going to ply directly from the spindle or if I'm going to ply from a cake. And I started the second half. So I'm doing this on a drop spindle. I am not prepping the braid. I'm spinning directly from the braid, which I am keeping in this lovely bag that Jerry made for me, which is totally my go-to spinning bag. I love it. It's a knotted bag design, like a Japanese style bag, and it's got the satiny lining. It's perfect. If you drop spindle and you are looking for a spinning bag, I would suggest this style. It's amazing. So yeah, that's at the halfway point. First 2 ounces are finished. The second 2 ounces should not take me as long as the first 2 did. We shall see, because I would actually have to spin on it to make progress. And again, I wanted to do about 20 minutes a day and it just wasn't happening. I did some more work on the cowl, the design cowl. It's this long now. I don't think I did very many stripes. It's possible I only did like 5 stripes. But I'm so close to the end. I just need to finish it. Look at how very little yarn I have. Maybe 2 stripes of each. Everything is so close to finished, and it just didn't happen this week because, well, okay, let me tell you about this cowl first. Knitting it on US size 7, 4.5 millimeter needles. These are both 716 knit, 716 boss colorway, or yarns, and this colorway is You Taste Like Ashes, and this colorway is Orchid. I went to the frog pond this week, and it was very sad and a little disheartening. This is the first cake of yarn for my sister's sweater. The first cake. I got about 10 or so inches into the body, and that gave it enough room so that the bottom edge could be straight-ish. And I was looking at it and I was like, that looks really big. And it looks like I'm using way more yarn than I think I should be for this much of the sweater to be knit. So I took a size 2 circular that I had just sitting around, and I transferred the stitches onto it because it's a very long cable. And then I tried it on, and had it been the right size, I would have then been able to just knit the stitches off of this circular instead of trying to slide them back onto the needle that I was using. Unfortunately, it was not the correct size. It was about 4 inches too big, because the sweater pattern that I was following is supposed to have 0 to -2 inches of ease, and it had 4 inches of positive ease. Not good. So I ripped out about 8 inches of sweater, decided that since following the pattern wasn't working for me, I would rather figure it out on my own and rip out my own mistakes than rip out something that was supposed to work from a pattern. That would be much less frustrating. So I went ahead and immediately cast on the sweater again, decided to do top down, and cast on the hood. I didn't use a pattern for this. It's just needs to be blocked. That will help, obviously, but I used Judy's Magic Cast On to cast on right here, and I put on a garter edging on the front of the hood, because that is what I will be using on cuffs and the hem. So there's the garter edging, and there is my Judy's Magic Cast On. You can see that this part is a little bit weird. It'll be fine. It'll block out, or it won't, and it will just be a little bit weird. My sister wanted a hood that was rounded, so fold this in half. So here's my top. Here's my Judy's Magic Cast On. I did increases at 2 different points to make it rounded at the top, and then once I got back to about here, I did decreases at 1 point to bring it in the back. And I might do another 2 rows and then start the increases for the shoulders. I'm not sure. It kind of sits nicely at the back of the neck, but then you see how it's kind of up right here? I think I need to do 2 more rows, and then I'll start the sweater increases. But that's where we are with the yarn. This yarn is 716 knit, worsted in the You Have a Butt Face colorway. I'm using US size 7 4.5 millimeter needles, and I'm sad that I had to rip out the sweater, but it's kind of fun just winging it, not going with a pattern and just being like, this should work. So far I haven't had to rip back anything on the hood, so that's exciting. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm sure I'm going to mess up shoulder shaping or something, but maybe not. I've done a couple top-down sweaters now. 3? Have I done 3? That seems right. My sock yarn blanket got a little love. Not as much as it should have, but, well, you know, things happen. So I did finish the corner. So now I officially have a top corner. Yay! This is Illuminated Yarns in the Jubilation colorway. I used it to make Mystic Spiral socks, variegated ones, a couple months ago. And then these are the squares that I added. These are all yarns from the ZK. So this one, this green one, and this lovely variegated one. It's getting so big. Look at that, so big. And dangling off the edge there was the edging colorway which I did not put on a single edge this week. I made 5 hexapuffs as well. So again, the Illuminated Yarns Jubilation colorway. And then ZK yarns. Oh, you know what? This one, these two, these are ZK yarns. And some of those ZK mini skeins were not big enough to do both a hexapuff and a blanket square, so I put them in my blanket, and I used yarn from Mickey. You remember that swap package that I got where we exchanged stuff that was in stash? So these were some of the mini skeins she sent. So those are my 5 hexapuffs for the week. I got something new in the mail. I got my second prize from Tour de Fleece, which is this little yarn bag. It's big enough to hold a cake of yarn. So you can put your cake in and hold it over your wrist and knit from it, which is one of my favorite styles of bags for walking around somewhere. And also there was some tea. There is Pure Peppermint, English Breakfast, and Orange and Spice. I love orange and spice. I love citrusy teas. So that's new. On the reading front, I finished Requiem. I was a little, I don't want to say disappointed with the ending, because it wasn't disappointment. It was just kind of like, really? That's the end? It's not the same as being disappointed. It's not. It's more like I just felt so much was left unresolved. So much was left unresolved. And this is the end of the trilogy, so those things probably aren't going to be resolved, which is kind of frustrating. They might be, though. There is a collection of novellas that goes along with this book that my library has, so I'll be getting that sometime and see if that answers any of the questions that are left open at the end of the book. It's a good trilogy. I recommend it. Just not everything is tied up at the end. And I know that's not how life works. Not everything gets answered. I just feel like there was so much that was left unanswered. It felt unfinished. You know how that happens sometimes in series? I really feel, tangent, I really feel that Harry Potter book 7 was kind of a mess. It's okay if you loved it and you thought it was great. I really felt like it was a mess. I feel like J.K. Rowling was like, okay, I need to kill off a bunch of people and make all of this. This is an instance where too much was left answered. Everybody had to be killed off. Every question needed to be answered so that it's just like a closed case and nobody needs to think about it ever again. Ever again. I feel like that's how it was. Instead of leaving it open so like you could wonder a little bit about what went on after. Disappointing. So I don't like books that leave too much open, and I don't like books that leave nothing open. Because I like to live in the world of the book for a little while after I finish reading it. I like to mull over things. But when there's too much left open, my brain just goes crazy. It's like, what do we focus on? Which one should we think about? What possibility? And if nothing's left open, then I'm like, oh, okay, book over, on to the next, which is disappointing for me. And I really, really liked the Harry Potter books until book 7. I mean, 4, 5, and 6 were a little bit iffy because Harry went into an emo phase, which I understand why. It was difficult to read sometimes. But book 7, I read it, and I read it pretty quickly because I read decently quickly most of the time. And I was like, wow, really? Like, you need to kill off all of these characters? Is that really necessary to motivate the story, or are you just killing for killing's sake? Anyway, I could go off on a tangent about killing for killing's sake in books. but I'm not going to. I started The Magician King by Lev Grossman, which is the second book in the Magicians trilogy. It takes place in... Okay, spoiler alert. If you have not read it and you want to, the first book, if you've not read it and you want to, this is going to be a spoiler alert, or if you're about to start the second one, there might be some spoilers. So I would say skip ahead a minute. Yes, I will keep it to a minute. Okay, go. So this book takes place exclusively so far in Fillory, which is the magical land that they find at the end of the first book. And the rules that apply on Earth don't necessarily apply in Fillory, but it's very similar. There's still day and night, time works that way. There are seasons, it seems, but I don't know how those work yet. But physics doesn't necessarily work in the same way, though it's similar. So it's a lot about learning how those things work, and the population, the human population, is small, though the animal population, the sentient animals, is large. Spoilers over. Okay. So I'm really enjoying the book. It's quite anthropologic, dealing with how people adapt to situations, or how they don't adapt and how that affects them, which I am greatly enjoying. I think this trilogy is going to be excellent. I don't know yet, because I'm only on the second one and it could disappoint, kind of like Harry Potter 7. Sorry, I didn't like that one in particular. I feel like it was rushed, but I'm liking this book so far, and I will let you know next week how I'm feeling about it. Maybe by then I will have finished, but I can't commit myself to that because kindergarten has started. Gabriel's at school right now. Mara is watching TV because I'm a good mom like that. Whatever. Sometimes mommy needs quiet time, and TV assists Mara in having that quiet time. If I gave her something else to do quietly, I would have to get up every 5 seconds and check on her, because she likes to be messy. So kindergarten started. Yay! Open house went amazingly. I met all of the teachers. So in addition to just the regular kindergarten class, my son also travels once a day to one of 5 other classes. Atlas, I'm not sure what that is. I should find out, but I haven't yet. Music, dance and drama, art, and the gymnasium. I think that's correct. So I met all of those teachers. I did not meet the principal, which I felt was really weird. Maybe you had to actually go to the main office to meet the principal at the open house, but nothing specified that, so I don't know. I did get to see the school. Okay, so I feel like this is really weird. Breakfast is not offered in the morning. Well, breakfast is offered in the morning to the kindergartners, which this is not the part that I find weird. I wouldn't find it weird if they didn't offer breakfast. I wouldn't find it weird if they did, because kindergarten is 3 hours long. And for the most part, breakfast is pretty easy to handle at home for people, although we do live in an area where there are some very high-income neighborhoods that go to the school. Like, there's a really high-income neighborhood that goes to school, and there's also a low-income neighborhood. So free breakfast and lunch are offered. to students who are able to have it. Anyway, they offer breakfast, but the students have to go to the cafeteria / gymnasium to get it, and they don't go as a classroom. The kindergarten classes are at the extreme opposite end of the school from the gymnasium. So if you wanted your kindergartner to eat at school, they would have to go all the way across the school to get their breakfast. All the way across the school. And it's not a big school, but it's not a tiny school. There are 2 classrooms per grade, plus the elective classrooms, plus there's a science lab and a computer lab and a few other classrooms in the building and the offices and some rooms that I don't know what they are because I didn't see what they were, and bathrooms and stuff. So it's not tiny. I feel like that's a really, really long way to have kindergartners walk by themselves. I remember being, not in kindergarten, but I remember being in preschool, and our classroom was on the extreme opposite side of the school from the bathrooms, and every day we went to the bathroom as a class. And one day I got distracted by something, and then I had to walk back to the classroom by myself. It was not scary when I was with a group of people, but when I was walking by myself, the school just seemed so huge. And even though I knew the way back, I was still unsure if I was getting to where it was supposed to be. And by the time I got back to the classroom, I was like 5 minutes behind everybody, and my teachers were freaking out. So yes, I feel like that's very strange to expect kindergartners to walk all the way across. Even though it's not like a complicated route, it's still, I don't know, that seems really far to me. Anyway, that's not a problem for us because Gabriel just eats cereal in the morning and probably fruit. I say probably because sometimes all he wants is the cereal, but usually some fruit too. He went to school on Wednesday. That's when they started. We went to the bus stop. We were there super early because, the first day it's hard to judge if the bus is going to be early or late. It ended up being a couple minutes early from the time that it thought it was going to be. So Gabriel was ready. That bus turned around in the cul-de-sac, and he was standing outside. He was waiting for the bus. He got on the bus. That was great. We have 2 other households that get on the bus at that stop. One of them has 2 boys. The youngest is in kindergarten, and then the older one is in 1st or 2nd grade. I think it's 1st grade, but it may be 2nd. I can't remember. So they got on the bus, and then we were looking around for the 3rd household, and they weren't, the little boy who was starting kindergarten wasn't out, and we were like, well, I guess they decided to drive him because they had been talking about how they were probably going to drive him most of the time, like maybe let him go on the bus the first day, but most of the time drive him. They didn't come outside, and the bus driver started driving away because he was at our stop for 3 or 4 minutes, which is a long time for a bus stop, especially on the first day when there are lots of kids to pick up. And then the boy's grandma came running out of the house, waving down the bus as it was driving away. And then the entire family ran out. So Mom, Dad, the boy, and his younger sister came running out. And he didn't have his backpack, so someone had to run back to get it. At this point, it was past the pickup time that had been scheduled. And I feel like this is extreme. Maybe this is totally normal for first day of kindergarten. Like, my big thing for first day of kindergarten was I actually got up and I was out there with my son. which totally conflicts with my sleep schedule now because I work so late. So that's not my job to get my son out to the bus stop. It's my job to pick him up from the bus stop in the afternoon. But in the morning, that's all my boyfriend's job because I need to sleep. I can't not sleep. I will be very angry. I'm not a nice person when I'm very, very tired. So I got up and I made him give me a kiss before he got on the bus. And that was fine. And then he went on his way. I took some pictures, the ones that I could get as he was moving. I didn't make him stop, didn't make him pose. This family, they had, maybe this is normal and maybe I'm the weird one, but I felt like this was so weird. They had the camcorder to record him getting on the bus. They took pictures. They made him stop and stand and turn in front of the bus so they could take a picture of him against the side with the bus number, and then again on the stairs. And then they followed him onto the bus with the camcorder and they took pictures of him sitting on the bus. And then they wanted him to sit on the other side so they could take a picture of him through the window. It was just extreme. Like, the bus was already at our stop for 4 minutes, and then they took another like 5 minutes. That is crazy because this bus is not a prop for photos. It's meant to get kids to school on time. It's the first day, which means other people are probably going to be running late. People are going to forget things. Like, taking all these pictures, I just felt like it was very, very extreme and kind of irresponsible. Yes, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. First day of kindergarten, oh my gosh, huge deal. But come on, there are other people who need to ride that bus. And it's not just kindergartners getting on that bus. Obviously, the first grader or second grader got on the bus. Other older students ride that bus. Like, there are other people who need to be on the bus. I don't know. I felt like it was crazy. Is it normal though? Is that normal? Apparently they repeated the entire thing on Friday with the camcorder, and I can only imagine that the reason they didn't do it on Thursday is because it was raining. Yeah. I took Gabriel to the bus stop on Thursday because Steve did not wake up. I had been sleeping on the couch because I had a headache, and my mommy senses went off at 7:15 because they get up at 7 to get to the bus at a little after 8. So my mommy senses went off, and I was like, why do I not hear a shower running? I went upstairs. I was like, Gabriel, you need to get up. And he was like, okay. And then I was like, you need to go get in the shower and get ready for school. And he was like, okay, I'm up. It was hilarious that he was so excited. I mean, hilarious and amazing. So I went in and I poked Steve and I was like, did you forget something this morning? He's like, what? I was like, it's 7:15. He's like, oh, my alarm didn't go off. And I was like, okay, well, that's a problem that cannot happen, just in case I don't wake up. But it was fine. Gabriel was ready way before the school bus was even close to getting there. So we sat outside on the porch waiting for the bus to get there because it was raining. And I totally understand that you're supposed to be at the stop 5 minutes before the bus is supposed to be there, but we can see the bus as it passes our street. It has to turn around in a cul-de-sac and come back. So we are there for, I would say, at least a minute before the bus finishes turning around from our porch to the end of the street. Oh my gosh, the cutest part of the first day of kindergarten. So he got off the bus, and I took a picture of him getting off the bus because, as one does, he was a little bit sniffly, and I was like, okay, that seems normal. The bus driver, she seemed much more upset about him being sniffly than I was because I just assumed that it was the first day sort of thing. And she confirmed he is the second to last stop on the bus, and the other 2 kindergartners on our street stay after for the after-school aftercare program. And of course, the first grader is a whole day. So he didn't have his friends on the bus. He saw all the other kids getting off the bus and didn't understand why he wasn't getting off the bus yet. So it was just the first day. He was a little bit snuffly. He wasn't crying. He had been crying. I could tell he had cried. But he was just snuffly at that point. And also I think that he has to adjust to not being able to eat whenever he wants, because here we eat our meals, but we also snack at least once in between each set of meals, usually twice. Well, there he can't because he's in the classroom. So I think that contributed to the upsetness, because when I am hungry, my emotions are crazy. I try to never let myself get really hungry or really tired. It's just bad, especially not at the same time. Horrible combination. So I was asking him if he was hungry, and he said yes. So we were going to go make lunch right away, and I was like, so what do you do in school today? And he was like, I'll show you when I get inside. And he did. But it was just so cute because he was so, like, so matter of fact about it. So he showed me what we did, and I had started lunch before he showed me, and we talked about his day. And then he and Mara, we were having mac and cheese. He and Mara were watching the pot on the stove to wait for the water to boil, and then he just turned to her and he gave her a big hug, and he's like, I missed you so much all day. And my heart just melted. It was so cute. I'm getting a little teary thinking about it. How cute is that? Oh, I love that my kids love each other and are friends. I'm sure that they will go through a period where they do not like each other. But hopefully, once they get past, middle school, high school, and get into late teens, early 20s, they get back to being really good friends. That's at least how it worked for my sister and myself. In middle school, my sister turned all of my friends against me just because she was perma PMSing. So that happened, but we got over it and we're best friends now. The rest of the week was pretty good for him. He didn't have any issues on the bus, which is good. By the second day, he was like, whatever, I got this. And he was even telling me how there was another little girl on the bus and she was the last stop, so she had to wait for him, and giving me a whole explanation, which was great. He had a lot of fun singing silly songs in music class. It's a really, really fun having a kindergartner, because at least right now, everything's so new and everything's such a big deal. And he's so proud of everything he does every day, because they cut and glue every day. So they make something every day. And then there's usually a coloring sheet, which is excellent. And he's just so enthusiastic about telling me about his adventures at recess, and he's really good about, Mara desperately wants to ride the bus. So we don't take her out in the morning when he gets on the bus. And if she happens to be dressed in the afternoon when I go pick him up, then that's fine. She can go and pick him up from the bus with me. But sometimes she takes a late bath during the day. And on Friday, she would not get dressed, so she did not come out to get him from the bus, which was better, because then she couldn't be like, I want to ride on the school bus. So he's the sweetest, and when we get inside, he takes his things out of his backpack and he says, you can't ride the bus, but you can wear my backpack. Right. Does that get you right in the heart? Because that gets me right in the heart. I love my children. They're so amazing. And life is about to get a little bit crazier. Tomorrow, Gabriel goes to his first karate lesson. We're going to see how he does. At the open house, they had an instructor there who was offering 2 free classes. So we're going to take them and see if he likes it or not. I think 2 is a pretty decent number to get an idea of if he's going to like it. Because the first one is always a little bit iffy, but by the second one, we'll see if he likes it. And then if he likes it, he's going to be taking karate. And if he doesn't, then he won't. But that's going to be tomorrow. And also, Steve is going to a foot specialist tomorrow. Once upon a time, a really long time ago, when he was in high school, so over a decade ago, his mom was cleaning the bathtub and had industrial strength cleaner in it that apparently didn't smell anything other than normal cleaners would. He had assumed that his mom had just cleaned the bathroom and it was safe to take a shower. So he started water and then stepped in the shower. Well, she had sprinkled industrial strength cleaner in the tub so she could really scrub it down, and left it there to, work its magic. And there was no communication between them about it. He stepped in the shower and got horrible acid burns on his feet. Fast forward to now, they healed, the burns healed. He has a little bit of scar tissue, but under the skin, he has scar tissue, and his job involves a lot of walking. He's a sales rep for a cable company, so he does a lot of walking. Well, he's been seeing a foot specialist for a couple of years now, and they were just treating the pain, but not the problem, which I guess is because he walks so much, he's breaking open the scar tissue or something, and it's causing the scar tissue to fill with fluid. So his feet swell up every so often, and it's very painful for him. So tomorrow he's going back to see the specialist, and the last time he was there, the specialist said, okay, I will give you pills this time, but next time if you come back, you need either surgery on your feet to repair the problem or physical therapy. And either way, he is going to be out of work for 3 months. It's fine. He has really good benefits at work, so it will be paid medical leave, which is amazing, because if it was unpaid medical leave, honestly, I don't understand how people survive with unpaid medical. That's just crazy. So that will be fine. It might be a little bit tight around here, but that'll be okay. Anyway, he goes in to find out about that tomorrow, which means hopefully he'll be scheduled for surgery or physical therapy immediately, so those 3 months can start immediately, because I just think it would be better for recovery if he wasn't trying to recover in winter. You know how things heal less well in winter because everybody's immune systems get knocked down. So that's going to be a big change, having him home all the time, because he's not going to be able to go walking for work. It really affects one of his feet, but the other one is slightly affected. So I don't know if he's going to be getting treated on both feet or just one foot, or how that's going to work out, but that's going to be interesting. And it will probably cause even less productivity, because my boyfriend is needy when he's home. Very, very needy. Hopefully I will still be producing something for you to watch. I don't know what the quality is going to be, but that's where we're at in my life. And I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string. I hope to hear from you in the forums. I know I did not answer a single thing. I did not comment back to a single thing this week. I'm really, really sorry. I don't know how kindergarten takes up so much of my time when it's only a half-day thing, but it does. I'm going to go and respond to all of those things and update the show notes from last week and write up the show notes for this week and work on some pattern things. It's happening this afternoon. I'm not knitting until those things happen. So I need to get all those things done by 5 so I can knit a little bit before work. Anyway, I've already said my goodbye. So what am I still doing here? I don't know. See you next week. Bye.